Today, let's begin with round 51. The title of today's lesson is the explanation of the several words like planet logos, handsome logos, Photon belt, the Great White Brotherhood, and Deva. Sanat Kumara was the regent of the earth originally, and presently Buddha, Gautama Buddha, is on the position called the planet logos, in Korean handsome logos, instead of Sanat Kumara. Sanat Kumara has returned to Venus. Nowadays, the earth has entered the area called the Photon belt. In the fifth dimensional paradise situated around the earth, there exists the Great White Brotherhood. Furthermore, there are 7 shrines, each of which has one of the 7 rainbow colors. In addition to it, the spiritual name of the flowers, rain, trees, cloud, and the ground of the earth, etc., is called the Deva, and it is called the natural spirit which represents those spirits. Well, let's continue to see about the contents of last week. First of all, let's think of Sanat Kumara. It is the name of a person. I'd like to write down somewhat long sentences concerning this person. I'd like to say about somewhat long sentences concerning this person. He is the planet Logos who has ruled the earth spiritually for 18 million years behind the scene. Quite a long time, isn't it? He is the Lord of the world and the ruler of the people of the earth. Here, the planet Logos means the God, or the spiritual ruler of the planet Earth, and it is the name of the highest position of the spiritual hierarchy of the earth. It is said that in all the planets of the universe, there exists a sort of holy spiritual government, namely the spiritual hierarchy, and there is a head who is the existence of God, and this God-like existence is called the planet Logos. Furthermore, each solar system and galaxy has the higher spiritual hierarchy. It is said that some of the spirits who have reached a high spiritual ascension remain on the planet and work on the road to serve and teach the people of that planet, even though some of them move to other planets. Sanat Kumara is called the observer in the stillness. 침묵의 주시자 in Korean, the observer in the stillness, the great teacher, and the only one transmitter. Transmitter means teacher. He is the person who has achieved the highest spiritual evolution on the sphere of the earth, and it is said that originally he came from Venus for the purpose of saving the human beings of the earth. He had remained on the earth until the middle of the 20th century, and now he has returned to and remains on Venus. It is said that the remained position of the planetary Logos, or the Lord of the world, is obtained by Buddha, and the position of planetary Buddha, which place had been maintained by Buddha, was obtained by Maitreya Buddha. Like this, lots of positions of the spiritual hierarchy have been changed, and the position of the world teacher, which place was maintained by Maitreya, is obtained by both Sananda, Jesus Christ, Sananda, and Master Kutuhumi. And the position of the Chohan of the sixth light has been inherited by Lady Master Nada. Well, let's talk about the Photon belt. It is a sort of energy belt which consists of large area or belt of photon. This area is a place where the photon energy or the light elementary particles get together, and it is said that the Earth has come into this photon belt, which has nearly 2,000 light-year diameter after we entered the era of 2000s. According to the channeling messages, the electromagnetic becomes powerless in this photon belt because there comes a tremendous change on the Earth, and the third-dimensional material turns into the photon energy field, fundamentally due to the change of the atom structure. Next, the Great Brotherhood or spiritual hierarchy. It is a sort of a spiritual group of the Earth, and it is composed of the cosmic masters who have reached the high spiritual enlightenment and the light existence. This group has many persons who are well known to the people of the earth, like Buddha, Confucius, Kuthumi, Melchizedek, El Moria, Maitreya, Dualker, Hilarion, Lady Nada, Saint Mother Mary, Ma Choan, Saint Germain, Sananda, Jesus Christ, etc. Next, violet flame. I mentioned this violet flame in the chapter of the comprehensive mind discipline, in Korean 종합 정신수련, but I'd like to talk about it more in detail here. This flame is said to exist in a temple of Telos, a city situated 1,600 meters deep below Mount Shasta, which is in the California state of America. The temple has a big and round dome-shaped roof, and the building is made up of crystal, which is made by the mind power of the residents there. It's quite surprising, isn't it? The roof is very high, and the whole shape of the building is very beautiful. There is a big violet flame in the temple, and it is said that Saint Germain and his twin flame Posa are in charge of this flame. The pre-lives of Saint Germain are Merlin, Francis Bacon of England, and the Earl Saint Germain of France. The flame is the source of a spiritual energy, and when a person receives the energy, he or she can achieve some alarming development of his spirit. It is said that the flame is guarded by the angels, and several fountains are just in front of the flames, and the whole atmosphere is a quite mysterious one, as if there were lots of twinkling stars. Especially, the angels do not send the flame energy to everyone living on the earth, but only those who ask to send it. Therefore, each person's individual effort is important, too, at this moment. In Telos, there are not only this temple of the violet flame, but also other 6 temples of the 6 colors, and the upgraded masters are in charge of these temples, and each flame is protected by the angels. I explained these 7 flames in detail in the chapter of the comprehensive mind discipline, 종합정신수련, for your reference. Well, the next theme is Deva. This word has the original meaning of the natural God in the Sanskrit language. We can understand this word Deva to be some of the natural spirit, even though it has no concrete shape. In other words, it means the silhouette existing spirit behind flowers, rain, clouds, and the surface of the earth. In this case, what makes the problem is whether there exists the real intelligence containing spirit behind those flowers or plants or other not living things like rain or cloud. We have heard about an experiment concerning the growth rate or the state of health of a plant when a plant scientist makes such plant listen to a piece of classical music. In this case, it is said that they reached the conclusion already, namely the plant which listened to the music was superior to the opposite one in health and growing rate. In reality, there are some of the farmers who let plants listen to the music in the greenhouse. Well, on the page of 231 to 243 of the book Telos, Volume 1. This is Telos, Volume 1, Telos. There is a story of a giant redwood spirit living in the western district of America. I was greatly astonished at the story which the redwood sent to the people of the earth. As an automobile can pass through a big redwood, you can imagine how great this tree is. However, even though the tree is gigantic, I always thought that it was a single tree in the past. But I was wrong. The book says that the redwood tree has high-level intelligence, and it even prevents earthquake in the western part of America. Anyhow, those redwood trees have been living there for several million years, and before the Lemurian continent sank into the Pacific Ocean, those trees lived in both the North America today and the Lemurian continent together. Therefore, no one dared to cut those trees during the term of the last 12,000 years. However, today, lots of the redwood trees have been cut, and it is necessary to bear in mind that those trees give precaution to the people concerning the natural disaster, such as earthquake, etc. Traditional and civil consciousness is the one that we should not cut a gigantic and several thousand-year-old trees around the village. As I think that some of the earthbound spirits, 지방령 in Korean, earthbound spirits or other animal spirits who could not go to the afterworld can stay inside that sort of trees. It would not be beneficial to cut that kind of tree at all. Furthermore, we can think that a big tree in a village has a spirit with intelligence like the case of the redwood mentioned above. Now let's look at the following picture. This tree is the gigantic American redwood. The American redwood takes pride in its enormous diameter when it is grown fully. It is surprising that this giant tree has consciousness, which is even higher than that of the human being. We can understand that the giant and the several hundred-year-old trees or several thousand-year-old trees have been denoted to be the trees of protection by the government, have the high consciousness too. Here, it would be necessary to listen to the theory of Mr. Hongtae once again. When some soil and rocks get together, they make a mountain. And in this case, the living and the functioning existence of the metaphysical bioenergy is the god of the mountain. And this mountain god is the existence of the united god of the soil and rock. Just as lots of mountains make a series of mountains, 산맥 in Korean, 산맥, we usually call it the mountains like the Himalayan mountains. So, some of the mountain gods make mountains god, 산맥신 in Korean, 산맥신. In this way, there are lots of water gods, from a small swamp god to a river god and a sea god. As the god of a district, there are village god, 면 god, county god, county 군 in Korean, and 도 god. There are other sort of gods like the 문신, civil or academic god, 문신, of scholars, the military god of the soldiers, the watching god, the guardian god, and the God of the creation. This God is the God of the universe. Okay? It is in the book 홍태수's 신단, page 239. This is 신단. 신단. Here, what we can understand is that all of the living or dead things in the universe have their own spirit. If we expand this attitude of thought, we can think of the God of a star, the God of a galaxy, and lastly, I mentioned just above, we can think the God of the universe.